Well, as I say, we awarded the contract over a year ago. A huge amount of activity has taken place to make sure, in the first instance, that the existing service users, which is about 1,500, I think, were actually effectively informed, understood what the new arrangements are going to look like. Our existing providers had an opportunity to, kind of take part in the planning and the mobilisation of the new service, because most of all, what we couldn't have was a disruption, a discontinuity between the people using the service now who'd grown to rely on it and their families rely on it, and the new service. And obviously, if we got that off to a bad start, it wasn't going to be something that instilled confidence in anyone else. So we focused a great deal of energy on that to make sure that was right, because obviously there's some range of technical issues. There's also basically a communications job of making sure people who may have had this equipment put in some time ago actually understood what was going to be the new arrangement. So overall, we've been incredibly impressed by that, because we knew that that could be a real difficult area. It is when any services change, and we expected that could easily become a real reputational risk for everybody concerned if in fact it had created any anxieties or any misunderstandings, or the services simply failed. So we're really pleased that that's happened, and from that firm basis we've then been able to talk to people in all the agencies we work with about the effectiveness of the new service, and actually that build-up of new people has been occurring at a rate of around 200 people a month. We've got much greater clarity about the pathways, and so social workers are telling us that it's much more straightforward because the relationship they've now got with the local partner, because we're working with an organisation called Progress Housing, which is a Lancashire-based organisation that has been at the forefront really of our childcare service for a number of years. So they're still operating very much as the local deliverer of much of the service, but with the advantage of Tunstall Healthcare behind them to give them the range of lessons and the range of infrastructure support that they need to be confident in putting in place best practice. So the feedback we're getting on the range of individuals that we're working with and supporting is wholly positive.
I think probably one of the most obvious impacts has been around the confidence that this has given to practitioners, to professionals within the service, but also the confidence that it's given to people that use services. And I'll just explain that in a little bit more detail. I think by having a greater understanding of what assistive technology can do, then people who are making the assessments, people who are advising people, people who are supporting, providing support, are much more confident that they can use alternatives to traditional care packages. So we see a significant shift in the behaviour of those people delivering services now, and the mindsets, the conversations are different, and the resulting care packages are different. Arguably, they are far better for individuals because they create that level of independence. The confidence issue moves across to people. Excuse me. The confidence issue moves across people that are in receipt of services, people that already have care packages. As they become used to assistive tech, as they become used to new ideas, they become more confident, more reliant on them, and therefore more willing to reduce reliance on more traditional ways of supporting people. And that works also for the families of people being supported, which I think is a critical piece. If we can provide confidence to families and carers that the individuals and their loved ones are being supported appropriately, are being kept safe, and have routes through to support as and when they need it, that then satisfies a whole plethora of issues for the family itself, and therefore starts to allow that exploration of other alternatives to a traditional care package. So I think the impacts of how we use this are felt right the way across, from citizen through professional, through ultimately to the council as an organisation, to the hospital. If we consider expediting hospital discharge, one of the key issues at the moment around those escalation levels at hospitals, the bed blocking issues, this is another key tool in the armoury of how do we address that. And if by providing assistive tech of this nature, whether it be whether it be the meds prompts or whether it be a simple buzzer alarm, or to the more complex sensors, what that does is give people more alternatives at the point of discharge and the confidence then to discharge people safely into the community, or preferably back into their own homes.
A couple of people spring to mind specifically. We had a guy called Ibra who has a learning disability. He lives in a small supported living scheme with 3 other people. His eventual aim is to live on his own. He didn't choose to live with these 3 guys, and he's actually got quite a lot of potential. So the sorts of equipment we've worked with him on are GPS systems, so that he can feel safe out and about, and if he does wander into the wrong places or too far, staff can find him by pinging him. The other one that's really interesting is something called a memory book, which is a very low-tech piece of equipment actually. It's a book into which you would put photographs of daily living tasks, so making a meal, doing household chores, etc. The neat thing about it is that you record a voice to go with the picture. So what this guy's been able to do is to learn to do tasks that previously he could only do with staff support. And that was one of the case studies that helped us win the LGC award for innovation around technology. So he would be a prime example.
Something for me that makes a difference in terms of having a truly effective telecare assisted technology service is having a good responder service. In Wolverhampton, the fire service have just taken on that responsibility, which is going down hugely well with the public. And the reason why that's so important, obviously, is that not always can relatives, friends, neighbours respond when someone needs help as a consequence of a sensor going off or obviously pressing a buzzer. So it makes the person feel safer if they know that 24 hours they can be supported by an effective responder service if something goes awry. And it also means that professionals discharging someone from hospital feel that someone's going to be safe. They're less likely to be risk averse. And professionals and family feel more comfortable too. So that for me is a really important key element of an effective assistive technology service.